The New Flash, the most recent album from the English band Sylosis, is now here, and is it their most heaviest album of all time? I'm not quite sure. If you never heard about this band, what I can tell you is that people glaze a lot about it, especially about the vocalist slash guitarist Josh Middleton. I hate making comparisons, but people always look up to this band as the next Metallica, or if Trivium never left the ascendancy phase. But to be fair, they do have their own sound, and they've been around for 20 years, and that's respectful on its own, but they're all great musicians as well, so they kinda deserve it. The album kicks off with the track Beneath the Surface, which sounds a bit generic, but shows all the technical prowess the band has. At first glance, what stood out to me was the bass sound, which sounded killer, and I do think Josh's voice improves a little bit over the years. But despite being a fast and groovy track, it felt almost like going to a buffet where everything is good, but nothing really stood out. Erase, the following track, is the first single we will hear in this record. When it came out, I liked it very much, even though it sounded a bit more commercial than what we were used to from Sylosis. So that was quite a surprise for me, and the chorus actually felt like a hit radio song, which is okay, I would say. With that being said, I was afraid at the time that this album would be too mainstream for the fans, but the checks are all there. It's a very catchy tune, the lyrics are dope, and it's a very groovy tune, so I think this is a kick-ass song. Speaking about kicking ass, All Glory No Value is a track that abandons the groove metal part and comes back to their most metalcore hard sound from the early days. People have been complaining that they're more into this groove metal phase that sounds like Pantera or Typo Negative, and people are missing the old days, and there's this discussion about do they sound metalcore or not, but I'm not really going to speak about that in this review, but I did enjoy this track, especially the drumming and the hats sounded amazing. And I also enjoyed the ambience in the vocal layers, hidden in what I consider the most aggressive track of the record. Then comes another single, Lacerations, with some good old chuggy chugs. The scooped tone and the mixing on the guitars in this track is amazing. Again, people glaze a lot about Josh Middleton, not only as a musician and a singer, but also as a producer. The tracks don't feel overproduced, but the mixing overall is really good, and it's a very Josh Middleton raw, aggressive mix, which I enjoyed. Again, this track might feel a bit commercial for the fan base, and it even reminded me of some grunge songs, but the vocal melodic part from Josh is just amazing in this track, so I have no complaints about it. I have no hate for bands that are going in a more mainstream direction if the performance in the album is good, and I think this is a good performance, so the emotion is definitely there, the aggression is definitely there, so I think this is a good one as well. To me, this is the best performance in the LP, and I wouldn't mind them going in this direction. Sylosis themselves said they are not the most original band out there, and they admit ripping off riffs from other famous bands that they are inspired by and that they enjoyed growing up. And when I heard the track Mirror Mirror, it reminded me a lot of some Slipknot with a part of Enter Shikari in there. The vocals and the lyrics are what stood out in this track for me. As I kept listening to the record, it seemed like Josh's performance and lyrics kept getting better and better. And in this case, I feel it actually saves this song, since for me this was almost a skip. The rest of the song feels generic if it wasn't for the vocals, and I think it's because the guitar needs to chill a bit. Sometimes I feel it kinda sucks, this band being so guitar-centric, because the guitar takes so much space in the mix. I realized I like the tracks where the guitar gives space to other instruments and you can feel the connection between the band. The other instruments need time to breathe, and for example the drumming in this track is one of the best drummings in the record. You cannot almost hear it because you have guitar everywhere. Even the solo feels like a relief just because of that, and it stands out at first because of it, but it sounds super filler. Cliché arpeggio shape, octaves and then a scaly run, like super filler. Again, it kinda sucks to say this because the drumming is very good, but if it weren't for the vocals I would skip this track because the guitar takes so much space, like they need to take into account when creating songs everyone's space because everyone is so good in the band that I think the songs would become better if everyone had a good part, you know? But maybe that's just my opinion. And again, are people saying Sylosis are groove metal now and they're pissed about it? Well then, Spared from the Guillotine is the track for you. It feels like a nostalgia trip and it's full of trash metal elements. So if you like going to the past, you'll enjoy this track for sure. Then again, if you are here for something new, maybe this track isn't just for you. So depending where you are on that spectrum, this track might be a banger for you, or it might be a total skip. Adorn My Throne is the most experimental track of the LP. The song begins with the synth intro, which I think is something new for Sylosis songs, at least I don't remember any beginning with the synth intro. Again, we also have some vocal layers Josh is experimenting with, and I have mixed feelings here on those layers, but I do appreciate the experiments, especially after the previous two tracks, which felt like nostalgia trips for me. So this track feels very modern, one of the more experimental ones of the LP. That being said, one of the less technicals as well. So this makes it, again, a love or hated track. But for me, I kinda enjoyed it. The new Flash. Sorry, kinda cringe. But yeah, this song felt like a punk hardcore song. Again, felt a bit too generic for me. We can kinda two-step to the song. It gives the album name, and I kind of hate it when the tracks that give the album name do nothing at all for me. I heard Josh saying in an interview like these songs from this record are somewhat a return to their past sound, but in a new way, hence the new Flash. But I don't think. Yes, they added new sounds to the LP, but it's not that different. Which, again, lots of fans were complaining they wanted back their old sound from the Monolith days. I don't know. The solo harmonies on this track are cool though, and I think the track is just okay. Oh, and the vocal layers at the end also made me laugh. I'm sorry, it just felt like I was playing Doom. Then comes Everywhere at Once, a ballad, which is kinda new. It's also a very personal track from Josh. I know they had a bus crash in a tour and he was away from the kids and decided to write this song while almost forfeiting the whole tour and almost quitting the band. Um, so it's a very personal track. I do appreciate the effort of putting your emotions out there and not being afraid of being vulnerable, especially in the metal community. I think this is an overall good song and a good ballad, so I have nothing to say here. Congrats. Especially being a father myself, I can imagine like sometimes you do stuff that you're wondering if it's the best for your kids, or you always think twice if you're doing the right thing, or have doubts if you're really setting up the proper example for your kids. So I can kinda, I never toured of course, but I can kinda imagine what it felt like, and having this song made me connect to the guy. So I hope fans will appreciate that and relate to that, because I do think that connection was established in the song. So mission accomplished, and it's a good song overall. After this good song comes Circle of Swords, which is my favorite track on the record. It starts by building you up to these monstrous, in your face lyrics, and this is a good example that despite the heavy guitar mix, everyone has room to breathe in this track. The drumming in this track is amazing, especially the pre-chorus and the bridge rhythm where everything goes quieter. I thought that was a very good take, and I really missed an important or good bass part for this song to be perfect. Maybe a little less kick in the mix and maybe some more vocal layers to keep the track interesting, and then I would have the perfect example for you guys to tell you what I'm thinking of. That being said, for me it's the coolest song on the record and I loved hearing it. Then the record ends with the most layered track of the album, I would say. And despite the layering, I like the direction of the track, but I also felt like it needed more spice. I know they added woohoos as a vocal layer and some string section as a layer as well, but just adding layers on a burger doesn't make it any more good. If there's no intention, I don't think the delivery is better. And to add to that, I also feel like the hook in this song is a bit weak, so I don't think it delivers that feeling of a proper goodbye song. But I will say I love the decision of the abrupt ending. So Is this their most heaviest record of all time? To be fair, I'm not quite sure. When I first heard Sylosis, it was Conclusion of an Age, and at the time that record felt heavier to me, even though I feel like it's a different genre. I also think Edge of the Earth and Monolith sound heavier for some reason, but again, they just feel different. I'm not sure it's fair to compare different records because they feel like different genres and phases of the band, and that's one of the things I appreciate from Sylosis is that they're doing their own thing, they're evolving, and for me that's great. Probably most of you guys out there disagree with me, but I felt like the singles and the most commercial sounding tracks of this record were actually my favorites. And you could also say they sound like the least Sylosis tracks maybe ever. But it's clear they're making an effort to move forward with the band. Josh is now back full time and he wants to release an album every year. There's no question whatsoever, like all the guys in the band have amazing technical capabilities. Like I said, Josh's vocals have been improving, the lyrics have been improving. For me, one of their pain points was the mix. Even though Josh is regarded as a good producer and does amazing mixes, he has a sound of its own. The tracks are not overproduced, which I also appreciate. I will say that I feel like sometimes his mixes are too in vitro lab perfect like, and I felt their performance in the records sometimes felt to me a bit sterile compared to their live performances, and I think they're getting a bit better with time, but I do feel there's a lack of performance delivery in the tracks. And I'm not sure if it's just the mix to blame. I think the song structure and the way they write and compose songs may also hinder this performance factor. Again, I hate comparisons, but I just came from my previous video where I reviewed the Converge record, and they're on the other side of the spectrum where their tracks are just pure performance, and the delivery of the emotion and the message is just very good. And here it's more technical. I feel like sometimes it's on the other side of the spectrum. That being said, I did enjoy this record more than the previous two from them, and I don't want to discard this record right away, but I'm more excited for what's to come in the near future. So I think this record overall is okay. It's a very guitar centric record, which is what bums me the most, but overall I think it will stand out throughout the year as a good record overall. I would say probably 6.5 or 6 out of 10. That's my score for it. So yeah, if you're still here, I hope you enjoyed the video. I want to say thank you. You are the true OG.